Hi, I'm Brett Middleton and I'm in the latest model 2010 Mazda 3 MPS model, and this car that I'm about to take for a road test and give you some feedback on is our current R&D car. It's got the front wheel drive turbo engine in it. One of the biggest complaints that we've had from people in the past is that it feels as though it's got all its performance pulled out of it, because obviously as you turn the steering wheel, obviously the torque limiting function through the input of the steering wheel, just obviously a lot more scope of opportunity to make the car go a lot better. And what I wanted to do now is give you my feedback on the car as a model compared to many of the other cars that I've driven, but also on just how this car goes with our XA kit tune, which is the ECU upgrade using Ecutech tuning technology, where we convert the ECU into an adjustable ECU and then fully tune it to suit the local conditions and get more performance out of the car. So probably the first thing, what do I think about the car to start with? Well, I've driven this car for a couple of days now, and I've got to say I'm actually quite impressed. The first indications when you get into the car is, wow, you know, it's a lot of information. You've got the two different displays on the dash, you've got the sat nav, you've got the stereo feedback, air conditioning, and all the steering wheel column information on the steering wheel as well. It's a little bit daunting to start with, but once you get into it, look, I'm like everybody else. I don't read the owner's handbook. I don't look through the book to work out what I need to do. I just want to work out for myself, and generally everything is in pretty good location and easy to find. At the moment, the car's obviously still in warm-up mode. We've got the blue light on the dash. We've got a 6-speed manual transmission with reverse across to the front left, a little bit different to other Japanese cars, but nevertheless obviously a pretty good package. The car feels to me initially, just driving around here at our workshop at Rhodes, fairly stiffly sprung and fairly sharp ride from the shock absorbers, but I don't want to make you think that it's an uncomfortable ride, but it gives me that feeling of a sporty car. And let's be honest, the MPS range of Mazda models is obviously like Subaru, is STI is to Subaru, and HSV is to Holden, and Rally Art is to Mitsubishi. It's the performance model, so it's obviously got a lot of few extra bits and pieces. I haven't driven for a while the normal Mazda 3 or the other range of models for a while, but this particular car, I must say, I really enjoy it. I like a couple of little features where if I want to use the dual climate air conditioning, I just press the button, I can change it from the other side, or if I change it, it'll work on the theory that I do want it in dual mode. I don't have to fiddle around and change it from dual to single mode. Last night we went with my wife to a function, and I chose to use the sat nav. The inputting of the sat nav was quite intuitive. It was reasonably easy to use. I didn't have to press any buttons to make it work. Unfortunately, on the Subaru range of models, you still need to do that. Okay, the display on the dash is not quite as big as some of the current technology with the bigger double din video displays. This one's buried down in the front of the dash, but it is also quite easy to read. I'm not looking down as low to get some information and feedback on where I want to go, but also at the moment, the other information it's displaying for me is the date and the time, the temperature of the day, and some of those other nice things. The dash has got effectively a digital boost gauge in the middle. Okay, from a technology and a fancy point of view, it is good. I like that. The tacho is big and easy to read. At night, the display is very, very good. Obviously, it's got the MPS logo in the center of the tacho. Tacho shows a red line around 6,500 RPM, and the speedo goes to 280. I haven't driven the car that fast, and I know these cars are speed limited factory standard, and that's one of the things that we work on in the upgrade to the ECU. But one of the really good things is with this upgrade in the tune, it's a lot more lively on the throttle. I'm just dawdling around in fourth gear then, and the car just has got really good bottom end torque. Obviously it's a fairly large capacity front wheel drive engine, so you would expect it to have good torque, and if I don't want to drive it with my foot to the floor, it is quite easy to drive around. The seating position I think is quite good. The seats, factory standard. I feel like I'm in a performance car. And overall, I must be honest, I really like this car. One of the little things it's got auto down, it's got auto up. I know I've spoken about that before, and some models don't have that these days. It's got the DSC and AFS controls on the dash, so if I want to turn them on and off individually, I can. I'm remembering that they don't always turn them off 100%. We haven't done enough testing yet to be able to tell you exactly how much or how little that controls those various functions, and what turns off enough and what doesn't. We'll have to get the car out to a skid pan like we've done on the Evo to get some feedback. Now that the car's warmed up, the blue lights disappeared off the dash. This car has got the start button on the center console. It doesn't have the key to turn in the ignition. It's got a remote digital key, obviously, for entry and exit, very similar to my Evo, but my Evo's still got to turn a lock on the steering column. Even my wife, who sat in the car with me last night, she thought it was good. She wasn't too happy about the colour, but I mean, I think what female really is ever happy with the colour of the car? From my point of view, it's about how it stops, how it handles and how it goes, and from a straight performance point of view, it's a really fun car and a great package to start with. Now, one of the big things that I wanted to let you know, which from a upgrade point of view, is when you turn the steering wheel on this model, because it's a front-wheel drive car, it has a big effect on the torque depending on your throttle input, and effectively in most situations it will limit torque or power through the engine as an input angle from the steering by 20%. So if I've only got a little bit of throttle, it still takes 20% out. If I've got full throttle, it still takes 20% out. So through the Ecutech software, the ability for us to turn those features on and off and control those features, we can immediately, on steering angle, develop an absolute bucket load more grunt. Of course, that then relies on you, the driver, to obviously take a bit more control over the way you're going to be steering the car, and of course as a result of that it does impact on torque steer, meaning you've got to be quite firm in expecting what the car's going to do and hold onto the steering wheel. No longer are you using the electronics to limit the power and limit the torque steer reaction because of the front wheel drive car, and the car doesn't obviously move around as much, but as soon as you turn the wick up on these types of cars, being a front wheel drive car, obviously you can only rely on the power steering so much. You've got to be ready for it, and this particular car does make you realise with this upgrade just how much more grunt you can get out of it and just how much better it can go. Just a thought that crossed my mind driving down here now with the factory original tyres. The road noise actually is quite good on this car for a performance car. It's got a good ride quality on the highway. We're just doing 80 kilometres an hour then. 6-speed transmission, again, obviously taking it fairly easy, and I don't even know what type of fuel economy we would expect to get out of this car, but from a just an overall feeling point of view, I must be honest, it's quite good. So going around this corner here, if I put my foot down, straight away, the amount of grunt that it's got, it wants to start wheel spinning, which again causes the car to start washing out on the corners, which means we need to do some homework with Whiteline and get the suspension upgraded and improve that opportunity with the handling point of view. But just then I'm just accelerating lightly with light throttle at 3,000 RPM at 50, 60 kilometers an hour, and the car is instantly coming on boost. The turbo on this car is not ginormous, so it's got really good bottom end performance, and I must be honest, a lot more bottom end performance than what I've probably recently driven in most of the Subaru and Mitsubishi models. Again, probably due to the setup of the engines.